What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. You know what sucks? I burned myself the other day. I was making some chicken and roasted potatoes and I ended up just being completely careless and just touched my hand and against the metal bit on the inside of the oven. Ended up burning myself. And it kind of sucks because like the controller that I'm wearing has a strap that runs out along the burn mark, so it's kind of stings being on here. Please subscribe for my pain. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. Call of Cthulhu, player wouldn't stop using period slurs. So this is a story I'm actually 1 degree separated from, as I was brought in as a replacement player for Call of Cthulhu Masks of Nyarlathotep. Oh my god, how you pronounce that? Nyarlathotep campaign that was about 3 sessions into New York and on the verge of finishing it. But the GM told me why I was being brought in and what had happened. Evidently the player, the Buddha, has chosen to be a New York-based private detective and a Caucasian man. Apparently, in character, he would constantly use period slurs and slang to refer to NPCs and other PCs in the game. For those who haven't played Masks, the New Yorker chapter heavily deals with its black Harlem population being persecuted by corrupted New York City police. Of course, this will make other players at the table extremely uncomfortable. It was a fairly diverse table too, regarding gender and ethnicity makeup. They asked him multiple times to stop and to tone it down. This was rather in-depth too. It was more than just the N-word, like evidently the guy was just a dictionary of obscure 1920s slurs and slang that would leave his character's mouth. He would constantly call one other player character a mulatto because his character had Middle Eastern ancestry. Mulatto? It sounds like a coffee, like instead of cappuccino, can I have a large mulatto please? Is that a slur? Is that a slur? Did I just say a slur? The GM had to take him aside and tell him 101, if you can't stop using slurs, I'm going to make you leave my game. Evidently, he just couldn't help himself, and that's how I got in. It was an absolutely wonderful game and I made RPG connections there that I still maintain. As a kicker, the GM also highly suspected he was reading the adventure book ahead of time and lying about it to give himself a meta advantage. Dude committed so hard to his character he went for full racism like exploration. He went to a full Wikipedia of racial slurs to start saying. If you want to play a character from that era that's being rude, I think the most tasteful thing you could do is make up words that sounds like slurs but aren't actual official slurs, you know? Stuff like that. I don't know, like a cranglebottom. Oh, I don't know, that doesn't sound like a slur actually. It sounds more like a steampunk, like a name for a steampunk adventure or something. Bobman Cranglebottom. Like wearing monocle on a big beard and a top hat with a cogwheel on it. Anyway, the player just decided to go way too edgy into the whole thing. I get they're trying to play a character, but they were going professional racism there specifically. I feel like you could still be a rude character that has a bit of prejudice without just straight up just, I don't know, spamming slurs over in voice chat or something or at the table. However, fantasy racism like calling elves knife ears and stuff, I fully welcome. I think those kind of slurs can be character building. Also, I play as an elf in VR chat roleplay and I have an elf in D&D. And I don't mind being called knife ear. I think that creates an episode for confrontation. Fantasy slurs, I'm okay with. Real slurs? No thank ya. That's just my stance on it though. Yeah, if I'm playing an elf, yeah, call me a knife ear if you're a dwarf. I don't mind it. I'll banter with you. Either way, racism aside, let's move on to the next story for today. Campaign ended because I let a player kick a kobold. Was running a homebrew setting campaign for several months with 5 players. 3 of them were fairly relaxed and 2 were much more number crunchy focused. We had a group mix of new and veteran players, but it was going well, or so I thought. The party were tasked to clear a mine being used by an evil faction. A combination of kobolds and lizard men were running the mine. The players detonated an explosion to seal part of the mine, which sent a horse of kobolds into a complete panic. A horse? Did they say a horse of kobolds? Is that described like a gaggle? Shouldn't be like a gaggle of kobolds? A crowd of kobolds? A group? A horse of kobolds? I never heard it be described like that. Is that a thing? I ran a battle encounter where I didn't put any kobolds in the field, but ran them as layer actions. They weren't a threat of their own in the case, so I thought it would be clever to run them as layer actions with them getting in the way or pushing around the party while they did battle with the lizard men. They did no damage, but served more as an obstacle for the players. It was going well until one of the players wanted to be funny and said he wanted to kick a kobold as a bonus action. I said since it didn't really matter to the battle ongoing, I would allow it, so I played up as a joke and even did a Wilhelm scream for good measure. Nothing changed at all in the battle. Immediately after that, the next player now wanted to kick a lizard man as a bonus action for an advantage. I told him I let it happen for a kobold because it had no effect on the battle, taking place for a laugh. Well, this upset the player and another player at the table, saying now I need to learn how to play the game and not let people cheat so openly. I tried to explain that it had no game effects and was more just flavor for this scene, but this just made them more upset. We finished the session with some bitterness. After everyone left, the two players that got upset decided to quit along with another player who is married to one of those, thus ending the campaign. I get people want a rules-light, combat-driven game, but letting even a silly joke pass was far too much. So that's how kicking a kobold ending an entire campaign for me. What a strange way to end a campaign. Literally, the kobolds have no mechanical advantage except as a layer action being sometimes a bit of a nuisance, maybe getting in the way, tripping up the players and stuff, but not actually physically proning them or anything. And suddenly, as a bonus action, player's like, hey DM, can I just kick one of the kobolds to the side and make him do like a little Wilhelm scream and just fall over? Sure, player, go for it. Might as well. You don't use a bonus action for anything anyway. Let's do it for the funny, haha. And other players were like, DM, you better let me kick a lizard man and get advantage on it. I want to get my extra perks and stuff. Give me the things that I want, DM. Let me do whatever I want. Oh, you're not gonna let me? This game sucks. You need to learn how to play the game. For what? They're literally doing it for the flavor. The player literally wanted to kick a kobold. No damage, no mechanical advantage, no mechanical reason for anything as a bonus action. Have you never played in a game where a player just wants to do something as a bonus action or reaction that has no mechanical reasoning whatsoever at all, but they just want to do it for the funny? They literally just want to do it for the funny. I've had so many players literally do things just for the haha funny and use that as part of the main action, bonus action, sometimes even reaction. Hell, sometimes they even let them do it as a free action just for the funny haha. But like at the end of the day, it has no mechanical advantage whatsoever. We're literally just having fun at the table. If you're gonna be that kind of a prude that's gonna look at somebody having fun at the table and be like, I would exploit for myself and be able to have something going on there so I can get some sort of advantage. And if DM doesn't let me do that, I'm gonna start big complaint and say the DM is kind of wrong about it and being a doo-doo head about it, and we all will leave. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. Honestly, DM, no D&D is better than bad D&D. In this situation, no D&D is better than crappy players who try to exploit something for the sake of funny haha. That try to turn a comical moment, a lighthearted thing, into something where they can exploit some sort of advantage out of that. Don't budge on that sort of thing. These players suck. Good thing you didn't budge on them, because for whatever reason, this is the weirdest hill. Just the weirdest hill to die on, and just to leave a campaign because of that. I can't believe it. They're probably gonna write their own RPG horror story saying, my DM didn't let me kick a lizard man in the face, so I left, even though let you kick a kobold for no reason. When kobolds had little or no mechanical advantage or interaction whatsoever in the entire combat at all. Crazy, absolutely insane. Let's continue with the next story for today. Wait, is this your fetish? Stop trying to inflict it on your players. So I was playing in a game where one of the longtime members of my table asked for a chance to run this campaign he had been working on for over a year. As a forever DM, I was super happy at the idea and agreed. So in session 0, we could pick out background and come up with some story ideas. The background included him bringing up that slavery both forever and temporarily to pay off debts was a thing. We could have characters that were low-born and slaves. We could have characters that were part of a tradesman guild. Or we could be nobles, but if so, our character had agreed to be a slave to pay off a debt, but were treated as skilled laborers with the idea that once the debt was paid off, they could take revenge on the owner if they were treated poorly, so they're treated fairly well. I decided to play a noble character who had sold himself to a moneylender to pay off his family's debt. Wait, so... hold on one second. I'm trying to understand this. Let me just reread it again. You either play as a slave, you play as a tradesman, but probably gonna be in servitude, or you play as a nobleman that went to slave. Why the only option is just like 3 flavors of slave for this game? I could just be like a outlander, or scholar, or a sage, or I don't know, anything. I'm assuming you guys aren't playing D&D, but maybe you are playing D&D. Why are the only options that you have for your character background and backstory to be a slave, kind of slave, and slave? Why? What's the point? Why so much obsession with slavery? Maybe it's a specific setting that has something to do with maybe like there's the whole point you start as a slave and you break free of the chains, you know, start a revolution or something, or I don't know, hit back towards the previous owner or whatever, or you hit back towards your previous, what are they called again? Servitor? No, I don't know what the word is. I guess master? Slave driver? I don't know. You know what I mean though, like coming off resistance past the chains that you'd be bound to, both physically and metaphorically, or is this just like a weird fantasy the DM is really interested in? So the DM sends me the background info, and basically instead of being used for the skills my character had, they were amazing at investigation, diplomacy, knew a bunch of languages, had several lore skills, as well as the ability to make potions. I was pimped out and gangbanged. So you have all these skills in diplomacy and stuff, and you're well learned and everything and all that. You have ability to make potions. Yeah, no, you just became a breeding slave. What's the people's obsession? What's this creep DM's obsessions with breeding slaves? Why is this a thing? Seriously, second story already? Probably. Not counting all the other previous stories we read in the last 2 years. Included in details was my character's older brother, often paid for the ride to struggle snuggle my character as well as to bring his friends to the event so you could watch it all. The email of this was incredibly long and full of details. None of this was even hinted at when I selected the background option. Okay, yeah, this is definitely 100% someone's fetish. Somebody's bringing their weird kink into this. Like, they're going really far. You had all these skills and stuff, and then you just basically spent to be gangbang. And then your character's brother apparently paid to specifically gangbang you as well and make other people watch. This is 100% some sort of a sick fetish that somebody's putting into someone's sick kink. They're literally just shoving the fetishes into someone else's backstory without even checking with the player ahead of time. Or maybe they don't care to, like, they're writing a whole ass book about it and send it to the player, be like, oh, you excited to play that? You read the thing about the brother part? Yeah, I spent so many hours coming up with that part. It was so juicy and good. Like, dude, no thank you. I didn't A-okay. That's why you sending me all this smut. Like, the least you think you could do is maybe, I don't know, workshop some sort of a concept before you write all this stuff with the player. Then you probably didn't even check. They were like, all right, got you, fam. You want something with nobility and slavery? I got you. There we go. Bam! You're welcome. Absolutely lunacy that somebody wrote this unironic and was like, and send. They're gonna love this. They're gonna absolutely appreciate my writing. Insanity. Some people just love to shove their kinks of fetishes to everything they possibly can and expect others just to go along with it. This has to be some sort of a weird kink or an obsession or something. I quit the game and later found out that part of the DM's world, in the first episode, the party went to an inn and it was common to have food slaves that had parts of the bodies cut off and fed to customers who paid enough for it. Like, WTF, man. Yeah, 100% some sort of a kink or some sort of a fetish and stuff. Definitely. It goes beyond just even sexual stuff. It's like just an obsession at this point. It's their fetish in a form of their life, basically. They just love the, maybe it's a sexual thing. Maybe it's not a sexual thing. Maybe just a gratuitous torture thing. Maybe it just gets them excited, you know, not just sexually and stuff. I don't care. I don't want to know. But clearly, this is some sort of obsession. This could be somebody else's fantasy too. Maybe out there in the depths of the universe, some other depraved person out there is like, gonna look at that theme and be like, man, I'll be down to play that sort of game. That sounds like my kind of kink. Sure. If the DM finds somebody that wants to play that sort of game, good on them, I guess. I don't know. I don't really care. Unapologetically write all that and set up these kind of things before checking with the players ahead of time about it during session 0 is wild, dude. Insane. Listen, run whatever games you want to run. Just let people know directly, this is this kind of game. This is what you're gonna get. This is the kind of thing you're gonna do. I am a kind of DM that wants to run this thing. Just be out in the open. If you're going to be running adventure in Succulendia with a bunch of succubi women, just say, hey, this adventure is Succulendia with a bunch of succubi women. And they're going to be hot and do succubus things. And you're going to be there and it's going to get sexy. It's going to get hella sexy and hella hot because we're in hell. Succulendia is hot as hell. It's like 85 degrees every single day. It's summer 24/7, basically. Also, that is 85 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius. Celsius, it's 30 degrees. Roughly. Kind of there, sort of. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.